We're back.
Hello, everyone. Welcome
We are
back.
back with the Inner Gamer. Today we are the event has started, so you may hear some background noise coming in. But that's
I've
not
gone
gonna
to the
stop
bathroom
us.
twice.
And you probably have like 7 beers at this point. Is what I'm
Not
thinking.
7. Come on.
So you guys are probably wondering who's sitting next to me. We have a new guest with us. We have Steve, who is with PolyKnight Games, creators of InnerSpace. Steve, welcome to the show.
Howdy, thank you guys for having me.
Yeah, man.
Thanks for coming out, man.
Appreciate it.
No, it's a bit unorthodox for an interview to take place here, but
Well, I was telling
yeah.
Brett earlier, I feel bad for your audio guy because he's got to worry about this. But like, either way, it's a really cool setup you guys have.
he'll deal with it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
He'll deal with it.
figure it out at some point. It
Well,
should
either way,
work out
I'm honored
good.
to be on like the first live
Thank
like,
you.
video thing.
Thank you,
we
man.
did.
This is
really cool.
yeah. This is like a momentous thing right here. This is
cool.
First live podcast. It's crazy. So
We're having
we
a lot
met
of fun
you
so
guys-
far.
We first met you guys back at PAX South. What did we figure? 2014, I guess, thereabouts.
Around there.
2015.
2015.
Are you
20
kidding
something.
Our
me?
camera guys, I don't remember anymore.
Dude, I don't
okay?
remember either.
If-
It's all
There's
good.
so many things.
If anyone's curious, Brett's terrible at telling time.
Yes, I am. Time. It's a thing that exists that I don't have enough
Get to
of.
the question.
So anyway, so you have InnerSpace. Just came out January 16th, which
Yep.
is awesome. Congratulations.
Thank you.
How big is your team? That's the first thing I want to jump into.
Okay, so we're a team of 7 full-time developers,
Okay.
and we will work with contract developers
Okay.
on occasion. So at any one point in time, it's about 8 developers.
Okay, awesome. Awesome.
You guys
And-
must be working around the clock with, like, for a game like this.
Yes.
Yeah. So
Yes.
I like that.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
All right, good. Good.
So InnerSpace is this your first game as PolyKnight Games, or have you guys done another game before this?
This is PolyKnight Games' first game.
Okay.
So technically speaking, this is our first like big published like full like
Everything,
retail game,
yeah.
right? We've made a bunch of. Do you guys know what game jams are?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I guess for anybody who doesn't know, a game jam is where you get a prompt, and over a weekend you spend like 36 hours making a game with some buds, and
Right.
they're almost always fun, and they're almost always hilarious and terrible. But we love doing game jams, and so we've made a lot of game jams in the past.
Right.
And even when we were starting PolyKnight Games, we had done like some student projects with each other in
Right.
like, student classes and
Yeah.
things. But yeah, InnerSpace is our first like actual trying retail game.
Right. Man, so how is it? So as this is your first time doing as a team, first time jumping into the world of developing your own game. Like, let's start with this. What is one lesson you took away from publishing this game?
Okay, if you're gonna do translations, have all of your text in one text file instead of in like 30 all about your project. Because my God, not only is it bad to like wrangle all of that stuff and send it out,
Yeah.
but then when you have it in like 10 different languages,
Yeah.
you've got to put them all back and
Right.
make sure they all work, and that's hell.
Oh
So
my
put it all in
gosh.
one location.
That's crazy.
So, this InnerSpace.
Yeah.
These guys, I've got it downloaded now, so I'm starting. I'm starting this weekend.
You on the Switch?
I got it on the Switch.
Yeah. So, we'll talk about this later. I want to talk about the HD Rumble thing because that was really awesome.
Okay.
But anyway, you got it on the Switch. Have you played it?
I literally just said I'm playing it this
Well,
weekend.
why aren't you playing it right now? I'm just saying, man.
I don't know. Maybe
Just
because we're
saying.
running an event. It's
All
this
right.
crazy thing happening. Anywho, so my question is, the art style seems. You guys made a very distinct decision to go with this art style for this
Yes.
game. What went into that?
Can I ask you to elaborate a bit more? When you say what went into that, what do you mean?
So, you've got an art style that appears to be very. You've got a very vibrant color scheme. You've got very distinct lines and the shapes within the full screen that you're looking at. I feel like with a game like this, you could have gone in any kind of different direction with it being this kind of sort of exploration. You could have
Yeah.
gone very detailed and very detailed skins like Gears of
Yeah.
War, where there's all these kind of textures and going
It
on.
feels very dreamlike. That's kind of the sensation
dreamlike.
I
It
get.
seems almost
it's a dreamlike
dreamscape-like.
kind of game. So, what was the inspiration for that dreamlike kind of art
Yeah.
style?
Okay. Yeah, so I think one of the biggest things for us as developers, and just broadly speaking,
Yeah.
is that we really love the constraints that come and the challenges that come with small team sizes. So we're not a huge team, obviously, so we don't have like a ton of resources to spend on like textures and graphics and realism, you know?
Yeah.
So instead, we look at the box of things that we can do as a challenge. How can we creatively how can we use the constraints that we have to come up with creative solutions for those problems?
Okay.
So with the art style, one of the big things that we did is that pretty early on, we made the decision to just not use textures for practically anything. And so instead, a lot of the shading, a lot of the visuals that you see are driven through math and through it sounds maybe a little boring, right? But like literally like vector mathematics and like geometry. Geometry in the math sense, but also like the little sculpted geometry, right? But the reason for that is because the turnaround is much faster.
Yeah.
So if I can sculpt out a landscape in whatever tool and then bring it into the engine and then throw color on it, awesome, rad, cool, done. And that's so much faster than all of the other steps that it takes to UV it.
Okay.
But it's also way more performant. So on the technical side, that was kind of what informed just the initial pass of pastel, bright, colors like that. But then beyond that, one of the cool things about our game is that we're playing inside out planets. So instead of there being like a horizon where everything's flat, and you got like the sun coming down and stuff, right?
Right.
The world wraps around you. And so that presents a number of challenges that we have to solve for. One of those being that normally in games, light is linear. So with InnerSpace, what happens is that you have the light of this half of the planet, or the shadows from this half of the planet that get cast on this half. And we can't have that, that sucks. So we had to write our whole lighting engine. And ultimately, what we landed on was an art style that tries to take a lot from things like Impressionism and from like pointillism paintings.
Yeah.
The idea being that in the distance, and you'll see this with the models in our game too, in the distance, things simplify. Like we fade out all of the surface color, just like flat details, and you get the silhouettes of objects. And then as you get closer to them, the colors come in and the detail builds in. And the other benefit of this is that we give the player the information that they need when they need it. So when it's far away, it's just silhouette and pretty landscape. And when it's close, you have surface detail, and you can.
It's very Van Gogh, like just the way, like just from my impressions so far. I love the color. Like I hate watching video games nowadays. Like, ooh, let's make it gritty and dark and various shades of brown. And it's like this. I love the vibrancy and the color scheme. That's very wild. And man, you guys have done a stellar job as far as making a game that's very aesthetically pleasing to observe so far.
Thank you.
So was there any inspiration from games like when I look at this game, I'm most closely associated with games like Abzu, Journey, Flower, those kinds of concepts where they're very experiential kind of games.
Yeah. The gameplay is there, but you're not exactly doing a whole lot with it other than going from experience to experience.
I feel like I play this game to take a break from the stresses of playing video games, which is awesome. Because you need that, obviously, but is that was that a conscious decision, or was that just kind of how it laid out? Like what was what was the initial paint drop that you put down in this game? Like, how did it start?
Oh boy.
I know, right?
Oh boy.
Let's go way back.
So there, it sounded to me like there were kind of two questions in there. There's what was the initial building blocks that we built the game on?
Yes.
And then also with regards to stylistic or game design decisions, does it adhere? Is it similar to Abzu or Journey or those sorts of games? Right?
Yeah. We'll start with that first. So did you take inspiration from those games?
Okay. Well, so yes, absolutely. One of the Abzu and Journey are both just extremely compelling experiences, and we were going through college and finishing college whenever those games had kind of wrapped.
Right.
Well, actually, we actually started InnerSpace before Abzu, as far as I'm aware, even announced.
Oh,
really?
I completely agree.
Development on it for a while.
No, which is because I was thinking about that.
Abzu, you stole it.
Well, no, it's funny.
Just kidding. Just kidding.
Yeah, because when I played, because I actually I played InnerSpace before I knew about Abzu.
Yeah.
But I just knew of Journey at the time. I know that they had a transition and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So when I saw that, that when I played Abzu, I was like, oh, this is very similar to InnerSpace to me.
Well, so I want to talk on that though for a minute,
Yeah.
right? Because there are definitely similarities, but I also want to point out where it's different because I think that's actually really important, right?
Yeah.
So with Journey and with Abzu, these are both like again what they do well is like minimalism. They extract a lot of information. The path kind of gently kind of guides you and moves you through the games, and you get to experience just incredible sights and whatever. But the difference is that our game is not linear like that. So where Abzu is a really it's a really good entry point for people who are maybe not as used to like playing more skillful games or games with like a higher mechanics like skill ceiling. We almost like to look at InnerSpace like a game for people who are coming from like Dark Souls or like fighting games where there's a much higher skill ceiling. And think about it, right? So like with most like games where you walk or you'll swim, right? You kind of have like you'll move along X and Y on the ground and you look around, right? But with InnerSpace, you're in an aircraft, so not only do you have up, down, left, and right, but you also have rolling and yawing and all kinds of things that you don't have in a first-person shooter. And then we take things away, like gravity. It's radial now, and there's no horizons. So the skill ceiling on InnerSpace is actually quite a bit higher than for games like Abzu or for Journey, right? So it will be challenging for some players, especially if you're going in with the Abzu mindset. But if you're used to playing games that are very challenging or mechanically intricate, it'll be a game that you can really kind of like zone and like just chill out,
Yeah.
So it depends on where you're coming from.
Yeah, that's something for me for sure.
Yeah, so I mean, I do want to talk on that because that was the first thing I noticed is that one, that you guys have like a semblance of a progression system in there, which I think is awesome. Like I love finding the relics, and then the fact that you also have the addition of exploring those relics. You can like kind of tear them down and break it like you are literally an archaeologist, exploring the world and all that. And I love that concept. And then it is hard. Like I agree. Like there's some moments where I'm like, I don't know where to go. Like what's up, what's down, and it's it's.
Did you get a little disoriented?
A little disoriented, yeah. But I think that did add to the challenge of it because, like you said, I mean, I was looking through Steam and looking at like hours log with the game. And I noticed that some people had like 2.5, 3 hours, and then I saw one that had 66 hours. I was like, oh my gosh, that's insane. So I feel like there's so many different ways you could approach this game as you're playing it, which is awesome. So I mean, I think that sets you guys apart from everything else out there that has a similar art style. On the progression side, though, like when along the timeline did that come into play? Because I know when we first played it, it was you had the flying mechanics down. You had some worlds built, but you hadn't really, there wasn't much story developed yet. There was, which we'll get into that in a little bit. But and the story, I also love the story. But when did the progression aspect and the relic discovery come into play during development? Like, where were you in that?
So we had an idea for relics very early in the development of the game, but they became a bit more integral kind of later as we introduced things like a chat system and introduce things like a more tactile narrative and more worlds and bosses. So the relics became a way for us to give you upgrades to your plane. So each one that you collect, once you deliver it, it'll improve your maneuverability a little bit, or your like how quickly you can turn this way or dive, or how many hits you can take, etc. But beyond that, whenever you guys had first seen the game, that was oh boy, that was our game was published by Aspire Media. We met them at the same PAX conference that you guys had. And so what happened is that we had initially done a Kickstarter for our game, and that was successfully funded, and our scope was much smaller because of that. And when we met Aspire, they opened us up to a much larger universe of possibilities. So by meeting them, we got to literally double the scope of the game, double the number of worlds, the number of bosses, the number of relics, add a whole nother layer of polish over the whole thing. But then also release it in multiple different regions with translations for all these sorts of things. So the cool thing about that is that by doing that, by having the freedom to expand the scope in that regard, we got to add things like a much more clear progression system, where you unlock a bunch of new airplanes instead of using only the same one that you have, and you do that by collecting different kinds of relics. And then again, that kind of builds into the boss fights. The new planes you get, you can use those for the boss encounters.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
It kind of blows me away because everything you're describing, everything that you're talking about mechanically and aesthetically, it sounds like something that should be coming out of a AAA studio. And there's 8 of you.
Yep.
So what I want to know, and I mean maybe some of these people would like to know as well, but one of the things I love about the indie market, everybody views these games almost like it's like their baby, it's their passion project. Have you guys had that from day one, and do you still feel that way now that the game is officially out there? Like, little Junior's out on his own now.
Yeah.
Out in the world, like how are y'all feeling about the game from start to finish now? Is it like, thank God this is done, or is it like, I wish we would have done more, or any, like, do you have any like thoughts like that?
I see. Well, so I think first and foremost, we're extremely proud of what we've been able to do in this time. We as developers have had we have been extremely lucky.
Yeah.
And we've worked very, very hard.
Yeah.
But we've also have a certain amount of privilege, honestly, just to be able to do this, right? So to really like pursue that dream. Whether it's family who have let us, live or have a studio out of their houses until we had enough funding to do that ourselves.
Yeah.
Or we've had a lot of luck and a lot of love that's gone into that, and so we are extremely proud of the work that we've done and what we've made. Is it a dream for us? Absolutely. Yeah, like you don't get into games for the money. You don't do it for the money, but we love making art, and
that sounds so crazy to me, because literally everybody else, whether you're looking at music or movies or TV, everyone's like, oh, for the money, totally. And it's like, video games is like that only industry. Like, you guys are like, no, we did this because we wanted to. Yeah. That was the passion we felt for it.
Yeah. Well, and I think that you can tell too, right? Because the people who have worked on this project have been working on it since before we had salaries, before we were able to pay them.
Right.
So the hours when we were doing full-time student work and then full-time development work, trying to reach our Kickstarter, and then getting after that, doing InnerSpace part-time and having like a part-time jobs and stuff. Yeah, all of that built in, all of that's passion, and it's a lot of dedication. Oh, I'm sorry. It's a lot of dedication from just about everybody on the team.
Screw them, man, they don't matter.
Oh, no. They're awesome.
Kidding.
They're awesome.
So, you're going to have to forgive me. I forgot what the second half of the question was.
Passion. There was a lot of passion.
No, well, like, I mean, it's just a different dynamic from what we've seen. Like, you think about EA. They've got multiple studios all over the globe.
Yep.
You guys, like, what? Where did you start? Did y'all start in someone's basement or living room?
We had, I think at one point we had 4 of us in one of our bedrooms. We had like computers next to Tyler's bed, and like literally like he would wake up and roll over and start working. And I'd come from class and like pop in.
Have you seen Silicon Valley TV show?
I have not.
Okay, so I can imagine like that space where it's similar except not game development, it's just software development, but they're like all in one room, they have tables lined up, and they're just sitting there 24/7, like cranking out code, doing all this art stuff, all that stuff. So I can kind of envision that. But I'm curious, so like when you guys started out, you said that originally obviously you can't always pay everybody, so people were working other jobs at that point, and then how did you transition into, like, has this been a full-time thing for you guys in the last couple years? And if so, how was that transition from part-time to full-time, essentially, as a team?
Yeah, so we transitioned right around the time where we found our publisher, and really because we found our publisher. Right. So we met you guys at PAX, and that's also where we met Aspire. But bringing them on, or them bringing us on, whichever you prefer, really. That meant that we could, those of us who were doing it part-time, unpaid, got to go full-time, and we were also able to bring in a bunch of other students or friends that we had worked on in the past, or who had been working on the project in their free time, and bring them on to full-time as well. So that really did transform the project.
That's huge, yeah.
And again, that really let us, double the scope, double the size, double the polish, and just, allowed us to reach a whole new audience. Like one of the things that's so cool to me is that the first public playthrough that we got to watch as developers, where somebody else is playing our game for the first time, was a French streamer. And not only was that cool because it's the first playthrough that somebody else is doing, but there was a language barrier, so we had no idea what he was saying. But like games are
that would give me anxiety just watching. Like, I hope you're saying something good.
But that's the thing, right? Because like games are this like universal language. So like he says something and I have no idea what it is, but then you'll see like the moment where like the tower explodes and he's like, oh yeah,
yeah,
the emotions hit it, yeah.
And to see that emotion, to see those reactions is like why we do it, and it's cool, and it's just it's I can't describe it, but like just the language barrier and everything, that was an incredible experience.
That's so cool and rewarding.
We were talking about that at because we were just at PAX this past or a couple weeks ago, and we were talking to developers like Larian Studios with Divinity Original Sin, and we were talking to Creative Forge Games with Phantom Doctrine, all that stuff. They're like overseas developers, right? And the fact that we can sit there and have a conversation about D&D, about all these other indie games we're playing, all these other games that we play, and it's like we're best friends, instantly. But they're halfway across the world from us.
Everybody can connect no matter where they're from. Everybody can connect with one video game out there that they've all played or gotten frustrated with or whatever. And I mean, that's just so cool to see, like, someone from speaking French that you have no idea what they're saying. Like, I hope they like it.
It was cool, actually, right? Like, so so we were using like Google Translate because he was streaming on Twitch. So we were like trying to like talk with him, like like through broken Google Translate and stuff, whatever. There was one point during the stream too where he like paused it, like went to like tabbed out, and you could tell he was typing and he was like thinking about what he was typing and stuff, like really working it out, and there was a big pause, and then and you could tell that he's not a fluent English speaker by any means. But you could tell that he had gone to Google Translate and had written what he wanted to say, and was then, speaking it or in it as best as he was able to, pronouncing it in English and reading that out to us. And it was, along the lines of like, I really love this game. I love the experience. Thank you for. And it was just one of those things because again, there's this huge language barrier, and for him to not only like take the time to stream the whole game, but to like really just take the time to like say it in English. Like, that was a huge thing.
What a rewarding moment for your game, really man. That's awesome.
It was really rewarding.
That is
really nice.
Seriously so cool. Like, I get kind of welled up just thinking about that.
Yeah, me too.
That's awesome. All right, okay. I got to know this because we're kind of running out of time.
Okay.
All right. Obviously, we're a video game podcast. Duh.
Really?
I thought we were here for NASCAR.
So, favorite game? Like, what's one of your favorite games you like to play?
That I'm about to play?
Or, like, what's one of your favorite games
right now?
Favorite game that you've played?
Can I tell a story?
And then favorite game that you're about to play.
Okay, can I tell a story?
Tell a story.
I'll try to keep it quick.
Regale
me. You're good.
All right, so for me personally, I can't speak for the rest of the team, but for me personally, one of my favorite games, and really one of the games that inspired me to make games, was Metroid Prime. And Metroid Prime 2 on the GameCube,
Okay.
And so it was really cool. The PAX that we went to, like where we met you guys and everything else happened, that was such a huge PAX for me.
Oh,
it was also the first one that I had gone to. So, okay. So at that PAX, I got to meet the design director for Prime 2.
Oh,
and
no way.
I stood in, because he's at a different studio now, but I stood in line for like 40 minutes, and I was like talking with like their PR guy and stuff, just hanging out, trying to be friendly, whatever, trying not to like, nerd out.
Yeah.
But I got to talk with him and tell him about our game and just say thank you for making Prime. And it was cool because he said, tell me where you guys are at and we'll come check out your booth later. And I was like, all right, well, maybe probably not. They're busy, but maybe. So like an hour later, I see him like round the corner at our booth, and I got to spend like 40 minutes with the guy where like I was playing and he would play, and he would give like design feedback, and like it was cool because this is a person who inspired me to make games with the games that they make. And now he's here playing my game and giving design feedback, and it was cool because we actually got to take a lot of that feedback and really work it into the game, and it made the game better.
Wow.
So Metroid Prime for me, but that was just a great experience, just in general. This has been a really cool, journey for us,
Yeah. That's I can tell that you have so much passion for what you do, which is awesome.
I love making games.
Because that's what you want.
Not like those jaded fucks over at EA.
This guy doesn't like you. He's a big Star Wars fanboy.
Yeah.
And when Battlefront had like the microtransactions, stuff
We
like
don't
that,
talk about it.
he like kind of lost his shit a little bit about it, but it's okay. It's fine. It'll be good. So
Sorry.
we got
Sorry,
what time do we have right now? We got 8:57. I want to take a few minutes. I want to chat briefly on the story because I find the story to be mysterious and just interesting. So where did the story come about? And how did the story come to fruition for your game?
Okay, so there are two components to this.
Okay.
The first one is that so one of the big things that we've been wanting to do with InnerSpace, just broadly speaking, as an exploration game, is that we want to give our players moments of awe and discovery.
Right.
Because for me at least, like those are some of the most like pure and like just like those are moments that really kind of only games can really deliver to you, because it's both empowering because you're the person who found it, and it's tied into very directly like your own imagination and like personally what you value, right? Because what you imagine the answer to whatever mystery is going to be different than what I imagine or what anybody else imagines,
Right.
So these moments of wonder and discovery that are built up through just like careful observation and exploration, like that's like delivering those to the players is really what this is about for me, right?
Right.
So beyond anything else, like that's what I hope our game does for players. Yeah. And then with regards to like the story itself, so we're telling our story in a way that try to hopefully like accents that. So we have like a kind of like player narrative, which is what you're doing in the world and what you're exploring, and you and the archaeologists are going to uncover that as you play. But there's also like the history of the world, and this is the optional background content, but there's a ton of lore, and there's a ton of symbolism and things built into the world and into the universe. And as you collect more relics, think of them like narrative puzzle pieces.
No, I love that's the best, my favorite part.
So each one that you collect gives you a little nugget of information. The more of them you have, the more of these like lines you can start to connect, the better you can imagine the history of this world, right? And we're never going to like give everything away because again, it's always going to be more empowering and more powerful if it's your imagination.
Right.
But we're trying to give you the tools to imagine things complexly. And I think the biggest takeaway for me about our game, and the biggest like word of wisdom that I can impart to players, is that InnerSpace rewards observant players. If you go in and you look and you're observant and you think about what you're seeing, there's depth there, and you can uncover it. But it's up to you, So that's our narrative.
Challenge accepted. I love it. So tell us where can we find InnerSpace?
Yes.
What system is available on? All that good stuff.
Okay. So InnerSpace is on Mac, Windows, Linux, Xbox, PlayStation 4, Nintendo Switch. If you have an N-Gage, try, maybe. And then it's for sale for $19.99, so $20.
Which is a great price point, by the way.
Thank you. Also, I need to just say it. If you buy 10 copies and unlocks the secret ending, definitely, you need it.
Secret ending, guys. Secret ending. Yes. Awesome, Steve. Well, thank you so much for being on the podcast with us.
Thank you very much.
Attending this crazy event of Mario Kart and all that good stuff. We look forward to seeing what else comes out of PolyKnight in the future and hanging out. You're local, so
I'm excited
this guy's
to play
in Fort Worth, so he's like right by us, which is awesome. So we'll be hanging out more often. So it'll be good.
I appreciate it, guys.
Awesome. Well, thank you.
Take a quick break. We'll be back momentarily.
What he said. We're taking a break, and we're going to do Mario Kart after this. So stay tuned.
Woo!